Yes, we are live. We did it. We're here. We made it. And you made it with us. You must be tweeting something.
Just letting people know that we're doing this because the more the merrier, right?
Yeah. And our YouTube notifications should do that.
Yeah.
But they don't. You still click the bell. Still click the bell. All right. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 games. We start with a good one. All right. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Some games are stinkers on Sundays, and some games are awesome. And this Chargers-Ravens game should be awesome. It is in Baltimore, but on the Chargers side, Bloom, let's talk about the Chargers because you're starting all of them, right?
Yeah.
You're starting your Ecklers and your Williams and your Allens and your Herberts. And Baltimore's defense, not as good as their reputation would have you believe. So what can they do to prove that they are one of the best teams in the AFC against a team in Baltimore that is trying to do the same thing?
Yeah, see, this game, this is why this is the last early game. We saved the best for last for part 2. If you were in suspense, the cliffhanger, are they going to do Chargers Ravens part 1 or part 2? Because this game almost deserves its own show, Cease. And talking about this with Pat Doherty on the couch this week, we're lucky. We had during the prime of our careers, Cease, not that the prime of our careers is over, but the Manning, Brady, Roethlisberger battles, right? The Super Bowl is always one of those 3 quarterbacks. Now do we have setting up in the AFC? Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, and Herbert. Anytime 2 of these quarterbacks get together, it could be special. It can be something we'll always remember. The same way that was with Manning and Brady and so on. This is going to be a lot of fun. See, before we get into this one, since we're only previewing 6 games, I do want to take a time out because a lot of people sent this to me, and I think that we're making inroads to see these coaches as human beings. And, well, Brandon Staley makes it easy. I mean, Brandon Staley has already done more to highlight the human side of the game than the years and years of work we've done, Cease, because he reaches people because of his post, because of the bully pulpit he has as a head coach. And Cease, I can't remember another head coach who's so thoughtful when he's asked a question.
Dick Vermeil, maybe?
Maybe. Sure. Okay, Dick Vermeil. Yeah, man. When you say Dick Vermeil, I just get a warm feeling.
Heart? Yeah.
I just get a warm feeling when I think of Dick Vermeil. So that's a good one. But if you're being mentioned in the same breath with Dick Vermeil, and you have to go back as far as Dick Vermeil, because he's thoughtful. And he actually answers the question. And it doesn't even matter what it's about. But if you haven't seen it, folks, look up his response to the John Gruden email.
And then compare that to Vic Fangio. Like, the Broncos have passed on Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Their largest sin was having Brandon Staley in the building and then keeping Vic Fangio as your head coach.
Right. It was definitely a moment when Staley got a big promotion from outside linebacker coach to defensive coordinator. But hey, maybe there is something to the idea of if you're in Sean McVay's Rolodex, you should be getting a promotion. So this is a matchup that leaves us breathless, a coach that leaves us breathless. I'm going to say it every time. I have a crush on him. I mean, just everything Brandon Staley does just increases it, Justin Herbert, wow, he had his first real breakout game for fantasy this year. We're going to watch Mike Williams in a knee issue that kept him out of practice on Wednesday. I think he'll be okay, but it's Mike Williams. Maybe it's Keenan Allen's breakout week then, and Austin Eckler. And let's just put it this way, Cease. For fantasy purposes, Austin Eckler is Christian McCaffrey. Okay? Make the kind of trade for Austin Eckler. Make a trade offer for Austin Eckler that you would make for Christian McCaffrey. Fair? You think I'm going overboard, Cease?
Healthy Christian McCaffrey.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. Exactly. Hey, trade McCaffrey for Eckler. Do that right now. I would absolutely do that because everything is lined up for him, and it's going to be really fun to watch. We're going to watch the Jared Cook, Donald Parham back and forth. I think Parham could have the upper hand by the end of the year. We'll see if Cook can stay healthy. I also want to mention, by the way, Odafe Owe from Baltimore making plays almost every week. This was a guy who had 0 sacks last year at Penn State, even though he had all the measurables, all the traits you wanted in an edge rusher. So that's just a little footnote for all the draft scouting jocks out there that, hey, production, at least at that position, not everything, because he's definitely producing, and he's going to need to produce. In this game, Cease, that just makes me want to say, start your engines, because this is going to be a race.
This is going to be fantastic. And Lamar Jackson, keep doing it with your arm, man, because it makes all the doubters and the naysayers just look even worse when he's throwing for 300 and 400 yards and he's throwing multiple touchdowns. And the weapons that they finally put around him, how long have we heard, like, well, they just need better weapons around him, and it's clicking finally. Now, Marquise Brown is staying healthy. Mandrew, of course, is coming through. We'll see what Rashad Bateman can do when he gets out there. So you have some excitement around this passing game, and then you have nothing but question marks around the running game. Mm-hmm. So when you have that, Bloom, like, just let Jackson make plays with his arm. Like, seriously, the Le'Veon Bell talk, I mean, it's so tired and boring and old. It's like the Josh Gordon thing, right? It's like, why, what, why? Tyson Williams, I know he's good. It doesn't matter if he doesn't get used. Devontae Freeman can't play anymore. Like, it's the way it is with this backfield. I still like Latavius Murray, but nobody's getting used. So keep using Lamar, keep using him as a passer.
Yeah, Cease, if we said, let Kirk drive the tractor or whatever it was going to be, it's like, let Lamar fly the spaceship, because that's how astronomical this passing game looks with him. They're going to get Rashad Bateman back this week, and Lamar's doing it his way. Again, I'm reminded of Brandon Staley and his answer to that question about the Gruden emails, saying it was real interesting. He cast his role as a head coach, and he mentioned that respect and trust are sacred, hard to earn. His role was sacred. And he's helping people become the people they dream of becoming. Wow. And hey, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, this is the Lamar Jackson that we dreamed of him becoming. I don't know if he dreamed it, because Lamar Jackson has that incredible belief in self, unshakable belief in self. And that's one of the reasons it's so much fun to watch him succeed, and succeed in a way, like you say, Cease, that nobody said he was going to. It is a mess at running back, which is rough because the Chargers can't stop the run. So rational coaching dictates maybe you shorten the game, you try to keep Justin Herbert on the sidelines, but the running game isn't clicking. Nick Boyle, I don't know when he's going to be back. That's the real milestone we're looking for this running game getting on track. So Latavius Murray, Tyson Williams, these are deep what the heck flex types because of the potential for a high scoring game, because of the Chargers' weakness against the run. And then you have Brown and Andrews, who absolutely just have to play. I mean, we just saw the Chargers play in a 47-42 game against Baker Mayfield. What's this going to look like? I also want to mention, by the way, about Hollywood, because I caused a little flap. Well, I mean, I get it. People hold me to this, and they should. When I said if Marquise Brown had caught one of the 3 touchdown chances against Detroit, he would have been wide receiver 6 overall going into last week. And yeah, we can do that for everybody. But he had 3 chances. Guess what? After last week, he's wide receiver 6 in fantasy leagues now. And he has become everything we hoped he would become in the NFL season. So you remember scouting Hollywood Brown, and the idea was, he's too little, right? Wide receivers with this BMI never make it. Wide receivers that are under this weight never make it. We're talking about this with Devontae Smith again. But the idea with Hollywood Brown was he's not just a speedster. He's not just somebody who wins on chunk plays or big plays. He's a refined wide receiver, and he's a wide receiver who can use his speed and quickness to combine with route running. And it's become everything that they predicted. I think this has been very under the radar, possibly because Lamar Jackson's overshadowing everything. But remember, they got Lamar Jackson. We said they need to get him a number 1 receiver. They got him a number 1 receiver.
They did. And by the way, Matthew coming through with a great Thursday night topic, Bloom. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time when there's a wider gap between the good coaches and the other guys? Good coaches are great, and the others, are Vic Fangio every day.
It's the culture, Cease. It's the culture, and it's the recycling. And I think the organizations that, for whatever reason, whoever the visionary is in the organization, that are willing to get out of that cycle are the ones that are going to move ahead, and the rest are going to be left behind.
Talk about the cycle of Arizona and Cleveland. Oh boy, back to back, right? Like back to back great ones. Arizona, best team in the NFL, certainly best record in the NFL, going up against Cleveland, who just wants to get on the right track and stay there. So Arizona side, some interesting things to go through because Nuke, yes, getting used a little bit more. Fantasy GMs will take that all day, and Kyler Murray maybe not getting as many rushing touchdowns because there's James Conner once again. Bloom, what the heck, flex or higher, whatever you want to say for Conner. They get close, they're going to plunge it in, and it's Cleveland. They should get close plenty of times. So, how confident are you in your Cardinals this week?
You should be pretty confident. This is definitely a game that has the potential. Again, the Browns were in a 47-42 game last week. Now, Arizona was in, what, a 17-7, 17-10 game against San Francisco. It was the first down game for Kyler Murray. Maybe we'll forgive him for that. Certainly against Cleveland's defense, we're not going to fade him this week, although Rodney Hudson's banged up. Chase Edmonds is okay, but you can see now James Conner is automatic call inside the 5, which maybe could hurt Kyler a little bit, but 5 touchdowns already this year. Kenyon Drake had 10 last year. I think that we always said in going into the season, if Conner can just reproduce those 10 touchdowns, he'll be a hit at ADP. He's halfway there, and it's week 6. Rondale Moore, I'd be hard-pressed to tell people to put him on your bench this week because he's surging. He's had at least 3 almost touchdowns.
If Rondale Moore has a Kadarius Toney week,
exactly. This could absolutely be it. Another thing to remember here is that Max Williams is out with that knee injury. Maybe we'll just see more Demetrius Harris, but I think we will see more 4 wide sets. So that maybe should incline you to play Christian Kirk, AJ Green. I don't know. He's fading a little bit. But certainly, I think this is a Rondale Moore week. And this is a very, very entertaining game. So we're now in bye weeks. I don't know if we officially said that, Cease. If you're listening to the show.
No, I forgot because yesterday we did 8 games.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, Atlanta, New Orleans, San Francisco, and the Jets are on bye. So it's a little bit thinner out there. And, certainly with 3 games in the afternoon schedule, Cease, this Arizona-Cleveland game, it's probably going to be the most entertaining by a large margin.
Yes, and on the Cleveland side of things, Odell Beckham Jr.'s fantasy GMs are like, please, please, something. We're waiting on the return of Jarvis Landry. Until then, some tight end. That's a weird thing about Cleveland, Bloom. Yeah. It's like, well, one tight end's probably going to do something. I just don't know which one it is. I know that both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt missed practice, different issues for each one. I still have confidence. That was Wednesday. Yeah. Just full disclosure, it's Thursday morning when we're recording this. I have full confidence both of them will play. But it's interesting. They'll play, and then they got to play catch up and keep up with the Arizona offense.
Yes, and that's the challenge. The Odell Beckham thing, this on paper would be a good matchup against Arizona's corners, potential for a high-scoring game, but the engine's just not turning over. See, I really think that somewhere underneath all this is something, I think it's maybe a personality thing or something about the two of them, Beckham and Mayfield, that it's just not working because Beckham looks fine. But it makes you want to turn to Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's coming on, and he was making big plays last year, and this could absolutely be a Peoples-Jones week, but it'll be a Chubb Hunt week. Cease, I agree with you that I'm not worried about them missing practice. We'll see. Maybe this could develop into something by Friday. Talk to Dr. Gene tonight if there's problems with their practice status today. Now, Njoku, here we go again, had a massive game, a 70-plus yard touchdown last week. He's on the injury report with a knee, missed practice on Wednesday. You can't totally trust him. Richard Higgins, we'll see when Jarvis Landry comes back. In the background here, Cease, more than fantasy, and by the way, no Chandler Jones for this one. So remember how he wrecked week 1 for Tennessee? Well, he's not going to wreck anybody's week this week. Hopefully he just gets some rest and recovers from COVID, symptomatic COVID. Okoof. Oh. Anyway, I just get rolling Cease and I just forget about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point here is with Cleveland, it's kind of like we were talking about with Cincinnati, where Cleveland had a couple of great almost wins at Kansas City and at the Chargers. And it's not a moral victory. It's not a rallying cry. It's a feeling like they're falling short of what they could do. So I think this is another game, a yardstick game for them. And that Chargers game, and this will be something to watch with the Chargers in Baltimore, because that is a draining experience, that game. That was everything laid out on the field. How do these teams respond? How does Cleveland respond at home against Kyler Murray?
Against Kyler Murray, against that dude. This game not as interesting because it's Vegas and it is Denver. Now, checking around, Bloom, with people around the building, because I actually have quite a few connections in Vegas. This team may be more motivated because they, it's like ding dong, the Wicked Witch is dead type of thing. They could be more motivated than some people think. Now, I tend to lean towards it's probably going to be a disaster for the Raiders. They're probably going to be super distracted. They should be super distracted with the whole John Gruden thing. But people around the team may be telling me team-friendly stuff, Bloom. That's fully possible. But there's people around the team that say John Gruden wasn't as popular as you would think, right?
Wait a second. How popular did you think he was in the first place?
Well, you know how people are, and they see someone on TV.
There you go.
And TV has a hell of an influence on people because they'll see someone and be like, man, what a really great guy. What a nice guy. I'd love to sit down and have a beer with that guy. Nah, not when half his players hate him. So anyway, I think this is narrative street, Bloom. It's not fantasy street, honestly, either for either side. But let's start with the Raiders traveling to face the Broncos and Vic Fangio every day.
Every day. And these are 3-2 teams, right? Right. Yeah. I mean, this is a big game.
They both started 3-0.
Yeah, exactly. 3-2 teams that started 3-0. And for fantasy, you have to think Derek Carr, at least in quarterback 2 superflex terms, is solid. He's had success against Fangio. Josh Jacobs is coming along. Darren Waller has had success against Denver, so this could be a big bounce back week in DFS. Maybe build a few Darren Waller lineups on that late slate. Hunter Renfrow has been pretty steady. I think we can see that between Ruggs and Edwards, if either of them are going to break out, it would be Ruggs. Maybe we'll get a deep shot here. But you come back to the Gruden thing, and there's layers that we could peel back from this, Cease. One of them is anytime your ownership wants to hire a big name head coach, this is also Jacksonville, watch out. Although if you have the kind of ownership that decides to hire head coach because of, like you said, sees TV, the size of the name, well, that should be a sign, as it is. Who had Brandon Staley on their TV before the Spanos? Ownership hired them? Tom Telesco. Let's give all the credit to Tom Telesco, okay?
Let's give more credit to Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this situation with the Raiders, see, I'm not exactly thinking things are going to get better because Mark Davis, right? He says, it was 51% Gruden, 49% Mayock. How can you possibly have an organization that's 51%, 49% on decisions? How does that work? Like it's your turn, it's my turn, but I get one more turn than you do? That doesn't make any sense. So now it's Rich Bisaccia, it's 49, and Mayock's 51. That doesn't make any sense. You just wonder, is there any sense at all to how these organizations are run?
Mayock was a figurehead, from what I know, because Dave Rosano's offense was right next to John Gruden's, and John Gruden's right-hand man was Rosano. If it was later in the draft, where the Raiders have gotten some decent players later in the draft, that's a Mayock pick. If it's early in the draft, it was a Gruden and Rosano pick. That's what I know. Whatever they say may be different from what I know, but again, I'm talking to people around the building, around the Roomba.
Yes. So I feel bad. There's still a lot of Raiders fans out there. The Raiders are the kind of organization that really, well, I shouldn't say the organization. The team, especially if you grew up in the 70s, they inspired lifelong fandom. There's something about the Raiders. They used to really stand for something different in the NFL, and Al Davis and so on. And now this is where it has landed. And hopefully Denver, because I know that your fan base that you serve, they still want something to cheer them up from the Broncos. So this is their chance to go to 4-2, brighten things up again after a rough 2 weeks for the Broncos.
Brighten things up for the Broncos, and that would come from firing Pat Shurmur. Everyone have a job forever and ever and ever, but Pat Shurmur's not good at his job. The running backs are both playing good football. I don't really like Melvin Gordon. It's not personal. It's just me. I'll admit it. Melvin Gordon doesn't really, turn my crank, so to speak, as a NFL fan, but he's playing good football. Melvin Gordon should be used more. Javonte Williams is playing great football. He should be used more. Pat Shurmur abandons the run like that. Immediately. They get one run stuffed, and then you hear all these excuses from Vic Fangio, like they stack the box every day. And it's like, no, they don't. No, they don't.
They're afraid of Teddy's arm.
The coach's film is available to the public, which, by the way, there's so many coaches that are still mad about that, Bloom.
Of course they are.
So, hey, your secrets are revealed. They're not stacking the box all the time to stuff the run. You just don't have the wherewithal, the chutzpah, whatever you want to say, to stick with the run. Stick-to-itiveness. Cortland Sutton, can he go back-to-back? Big game, and then nothing for 2 weeks, and then big game. So is it still a big game against the Raiders? Timmy Pat's there. I'm not trusting Noah Fant. Let's talk about the Broncos, Bloom. Again, not as exciting as other games.
And this one is, do we think they can stick with the run? Or do they think the defense can do enough to not give them a reason to abandon the run because of the scoreboard? I think this could be a Javonte Williams game. And Melvin Gordon, the injury's migrating up now. I think it was hip that he was on the injury report with.
Yeah.
So,
it was lower leg and then now hip. So, what's next?
Right. Shoulder by week 10. I don't know, but obviously Javonte Williams is healthier. Javonte Williams has been more impressive overall as far as a spark plug for this offense. This could be a Javonte Williams game for sure. I think that this is a game, you saw what Chicago did with Khalil Herbert and Damian Williams last week on the ground against the Raiders. Again, and we are relying on rational coaching here. Sutton and Patrick are both pretty solid plays this week, though, because it's the Raiders. Trayvon Mullen, their number one corner, is on IR. Damian Arnett, that was probably a Gruden pick, eh? See, it's so funny. See how it lines up Damian Arnett, Jonathan Abram, Cleveland Farrell. Mm-hmm. I don't want to besmirch Josh Jacobs' name. I like Josh Jacobs. I like the way he plays, so I'm not going to put him in that group, really. But, yeah, I think that Sutton and Patrick are the guys here. Like you said, Fant, you can't trust yet. Teddy is a solid, high-floor quarterback, too, super flex. You would expect him to have some success here, hopefully some momentum here, as we saw him throwing downfield, running game to set up throwing downfield. Not exactly what you think of when you think of Teddy, but those are the elements that are coming together. We'll see if they're smart enough to use them.
Rather than talk about Raiders and Broncos, Garage Junkie, one of our favorites, he says, Return to Oz is a trip of a movie. I actually watched like a little mini documentary on that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen that, Bloom. And I guess I'll send you that little documentary I watched on YouTube. Yeah. But yes, Return to Oz is quite trippy. Let's trip out Dallas and New England. This one's more exciting. Almost all these games are more exciting than Broncos game. But Dallas and New England is up next. And you go, okay, Amari Cooper, how healthy are you? How can you help me? Please, can you help me? And you look at Dalton Schultz and the rest of this Cowboys offense and the Zeke thing. Bill Belichick will take one person away. Is that one person Zeke? Well, if that's the case, what does that do for Pollard? If it's not Zeke, then who? I asked Nick Ferguson that question last night, and he was like, he takes away Dak Prescott, Cecil. And I'm like, no, I don't think he can.
I don't know how you do that.
I don't think he can. So who is the one he takes away, and then how should fantasy GMs navigate around that?
I think that because the Cowboys want to run and Bill Belichick knows that it's better to be trying to defend Dak Prescott in this conservative offense than throwing downfield, I think that this is going to be a game where the Cowboys are going to be able to stay in the mode they've been in because New England's not going to do anything to take them out of it. So I really wouldn't project the Dallas offense any different. With Belichick, we have to start throwing some of this stuff out, right? I guess he took Brandon Cooks away last week, but a rookie quarterback who wasn't even supposed to be starting had an excellent game against Bill Belichick's defense last week. So I don't even know if we're steering clear of Bill Belichick in any way going forward. With Lamb and Cooper, they both had some touchdowns. Each had a touchdown last week. That helped. By the way, that was a close game last week until Daniel Jones got hurt. I think it was 10-10, or it was close. It was a close game, and then it just fell apart in the second half when Mike Glennon came in. So New England just hoping to be competitive in this one. But it's a Zeke and Pollard game. It's a Dalton Schultz game, as it has always been. It's Dak with a high floor, a lower ceiling. And see, where this all circles back around to is, I think you started with the right question. How do you defend this Dallas defense right now? Because they really have set up that choice for the offense. They've set up that choice for defenses where if you stack the box and you try to take away the run, now you may have Lamb or Cooper on an island. That's not good. Or you can have Dalton Schultz, in the middle of the field taking advantage of that. But if you go light against the run, well, they're just happy to run all day. Zeke's certainly happy, right? Get that big spoon and eat.
Right.
So there's not really a good choice. And this isn't a good defense. This isn't a good team. And they don't have a good offense. So you're right, Cease. This is only marginally, I don't know, it might be less entertaining than the Vegas-Denver game. Controversial take.
Hot Take Tuesday, right? Oh, can't stand hot takes. Anyway, New England side of things, like when Ramondre Stevenson hangs onto the ball, and who was it? Was it the running backs coach, Bloom? What was the quote this week? Somebody was talking good about Ramondre within the team. So we'll see how that continues. Of course, you're listening to this show, you're not necessarily considering Ramondre, but you've got guys like Jacoby Myers you might throw out there. So what do you think about New England? How do they attack? Is that a thing with New England this year? It seems like they don't.
No.
They play a lot of defense, but you will get a lot of shots on goal. Guess who had to talk about the Avs ad nauseum last night?
They will Landeskog. You got the pronunciation of that one down? Gabriel Landeskog.
I got a story for you.
Oh, I see. Every week. See, really, the real show that people want is the stories that you tell me after the show, right?
Yeah.
By the way, Zach Herbert, a big favorite in the chat room of mine, said the way you defend Dallas is to kidnap Kellen Moore and have Mike McCarthy call the plays. So, anyway, lots of passing. It's been there in garbage time. Mike Glennon almost had 200 passing yards in garbage time last week. Kadarius Toney, right? So pass. Lots of what the heck flexes here. Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Brandon Bolden. You like playing Hunter Henry in this one. He's got some momentum. Jacoby Myers should be a good PPR play here. It's going to have to be the passing game. Dallas has given up a lot of garbage time, points and yards. Not that they care. And that's one of the things we do care about in fantasy football. You mentioned Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know if this is the game where you're going to focus. See, I don't know how many games are really going to focus on the running game for the Patriots when they face the Jets. I guess they play them again, I think. So that's about it. Ramondre Stevenson didn't look good when Harris left the game last week. They might get at least one of the 4 starters on the offensive line that were not in there last week, so that could be something. Damian Harris has that chest rib issue we're going to watch, but this is a boring team. See, this is a bottom 10 team right now. And I don't think they're going to change that view against the Cowboys.
Yeah, against the Cowboys, they shouldn't change that view. Seattle and Pittsburgh changing your view of, I don't know, Geno Smith, maybe, right? On the Seattle side of things. And you're thinking, well, does it just mean more Chris Carson? Sure. DK Metcalf a little bit banged up, so people are wondering, getting a lot of Tyler Lockett questions there, Bloom. And, well, it all comes back to Geno and how much do you trust him? So how much do you trust him against the Steelers?
More than I thought I would after watching him last week in the second half of that game after Russell Wilson went out. The Steelers' defense has vulnerabilities. We're going to watch and see how Devin Bush is doing. I would think that Geno Smith is actually a decent quarterback 2 super flex. This week, he runs. We certainly are going to see. I'm not sure what's going on with Chris Carson. It's Sunday night, so you may not be able to even wait around for Alex Collins. Is it worth it to wait around for Alex Collins? I would think that Geno is going to take some shots here. He definitely has the chemistry with DK Metcalf. Like C said, let's watch the injury report there. And then Tyler Lockett's more of a what the heck flex. Hopefully they can find some creative ways to use him. That's the thing that's frustrating thinking about this game, Cease, is just so much of this offense has been Russell Wilson. We thought maybe Shane Waldron would come in and help Russell Wilson. I don't know that he truly did. This offense started to revert back to its old form. So with Geno Smith, are they going to give him any help? I don't know. Maybe it's a Steelers defense weak. And it's like we said, Denver making the fans feel like everything's okay when it really isn't. This is exactly the kind of game, primetime, resounding win for the Steelers that will make everyone think maybe everything's okay. It's not okay.
It's not okay. Yeah, it's fraudulent, but hey, as long as we can pretend, right? You can pretend. It's like looking through your whiskey glass, right? The Steelers aren't very good, and then you pick up your whiskey glass like, oh no, everything's okay.
Better. Yeah. And
then you drink that whiskey, and you're like, it's all better for the Steelers. And then you wake up hungover, and Ben Roethlisberger is a bad quarterback. I was going to say something else, Boom. I don't want to be mean. Well, meaner. Anyway, let's talk about the Steelers side in this fraudulent game.
He made me think of beer goggles. There's got to be something like schedule goggles or playing the Jets goggles, where you think everything is okay because you can look at it through that lens.
Right.
It's a Najee Harris game. Oh boy, is it going to be a Harris game?
Why wasn't it Harris from the jump? They did it against the Broncos finally. Right. That should have been the recipe the entire season.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing our mutual friend and somebody that sees part of the reason that we're even able to do this and have it be what we do for a living is Keith Overton. Keith Overton.
He's Superman.
He is Superman. Keith Overton and Clayton Gray. And I think Keith, in our little base camp thing, his title is problem solver. Oh man, is that perfect? Is that perfect? And Keith would just say, well, it just takes the Steelers offensive line a little while to come together sometimes. It takes them a few weeks. So I'm going to go with
like Keith too.
Yeah. We love you, Keith.
We love him. Man.
We love Keith more than words can express. Really, he's just an absolutely lovely human being, and I'm very happy that my path is crossed with his, and that I get to benefit from all of his talents. So that would be my answer. With Roethlisberger, it's going to be a low volume game, 25 attempts, but with Juju Smith-Schuster out, and there was a real good clip. Juju was his foundation luau. Makes sense that his foundation would have a luau, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really, whatever you think about Juju, watch this clip and just see how tore up he is to not get to play for the rest of the year. How much football means to him, how much playing football means to him, playing football, and how much football has given him, and how important it is. But because Juju's out, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, the targets are going to be there. Play both of them. They're both great plays against Seattle. Trey Flowers is out, by the way. Legion of Gloom. I don't know what we're going to call this defense.
Ha.
And this game probably not the greatest. Maybe Geno Smith does the triumphant return to the tri-state area, as he played in Morgantown. By the way, if you're ever in Morgantown, get pepperoni rolls, the kind at the gas station that's just right next to the register.
Okay.
Something in the water.
What is it about gas stations back east, right? Because when the
Wawa,
what was it, the
Sheetz.
Draft? Was it the draft that was in? Yeah, I think it was the draft that was in Philadelphia, and I went back there, and everybody was like, "You got to go to Wawa."
Yeah,
and I stayed at a hotel that was right next to a Wawa, so I ate there 3 times, and it was it's like a sandwich. It's okay, it's not the greatest thing ever. Sometimes things get overhyped, right?
Well, but here's the thing: they get overhyped. But at the same time, because I talked about this with a little bit, touched on it with Pat Doherty on the couch, like the Pittsburgh, Philly thing, Wawa, Sheetz. But here's the thing, all right? So Sheetz, and I didn't live in Eastern Pennsylvania. I didn't have a Wawa. I didn't live in Jersey, but I had a Sheetz. And Sheetz, first of all, Cease. Do I need to say more than this? Okay, they opened a Sheetz in around mid-80s, where I grew up, Bentleyville, Pennsylvania. I lived a block, and a block in Bentleyville is not very long, depending on what direction you're going, from the one stoplight in Bentleyville, and the Sheetz was at the one stoplight. There was a bar there called Marcus Coppermug. It was one of the many bars where my stepfather, former professional boxer Mike Belsky, had to teach someone what happens if you mess with Mike Belsky. Anyway, I digress. For the opening of the Sheetz, Cease, none other than Louis Lips came to Bentleyville, Pennsylvania. Do I need to say any more than that of why you would love Sheetz? But they do all the made-to-order sandwiches, and in a town like Bentleyville, it's Sheetz is a nice restaurant, and I would imagine that's part of it. And then it's also part of what you grow up with. It's part of it's always there for you, So right. But the gas station fried chicken here in New Orleans trumps it all.
Okay, there you go. We will move on to the Monday night game, and it is Buffalo and it is Tennessee. And oh boy, this can be not good, but a great one for Buffalo side. Tennessee, we don't know, and there's a lot of questions there. We'll get to the Tennessee side in just a little bit. Let's go with Buffalo. And what's going on with Cole Beasley? Mm-hmm. Why is that target share going down? You think you have a floor with Beasley that in PPR leagues you can throw him in as a deep flex. He's more of a what the heck flex, or just put him on your bench or cut him. It's Emmanuel Sanders, gonna do E. He's coming through, of course. So with Stephon Diggs doing his thing, now there's a Dawson Knox. Happy learned how to putt. That's right. And Josh Allen doing his thing with Zach Moss, who they love. Not so much with Devin Singletary, who they don't love. It's confusing to me, Bloom, because I love Singletary, but whatever. Right. This is what they're doing, and they're doing a lot, and that should keep up on Monday night.
It should. See, let's take a trip in the time machine to the future. I know we don't use the time machine. We never even told anybody that we have a time machine because we have to mess up a lot of things. People would figure out that we had a time machine. So we make a lot of wrong calls. But I'm going to take you in a time machine to the end of the season when Buffalo's the number 1 seed. And looking over the schedule, how do I know that other than the time machine? See, this after Buffalo's bye is coming up next week. This is the rest of their schedule. Ready? Miami at Jacksonville at the Jets, Indianapolis at New Orleans, New England at Tampa Bay. Okay, week 14 at Tampa Bay. That's going to be fun. Carolina at New England, Atlanta, and the Jets.
They lose maybe 2 of those.
Maybe 2 games.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2 games. Maybe the Steelers are the only ones that put a loss on them this year. What world, what reality did we just wake up in? Anyway, and the Steelers actually have a history of doing that. I think that there was a year that the 49ers had 1 loss, and it was the Steelers that put on like 83, 84, something like that. Anyway, so this is a test. This is one of their last tests, I guess, because the Tennessee defense is a test you already have the answers to, right? Especially when you're red hot like Josh Allen is. So yeah, Allen is going to be fantastic. I think Zach Moss is likely to score here. Sanders, you have to leave in getting those multi-touchdown games. Diggs, of course. Dawson Knox. See, speaking of realities, did you think we were going to be in a reality where Dawson Knox is a darling of the fantasy world?
Well, the talent was always there. It was there in college at Ole Miss, and then they get him and they don't use him for 2 years, and then now they start using him. So good. I'm glad that's finally coming to fruition.
Inconsistent. Couldn't stay on the field.
Go back to our tight ends usually take about 3 years.
Right. Well, and he came in with very little usage, got banged up a lot at Ole Miss, but the athleticism was off the charts. Going into this year, they wanted to upgrade at tight end. Maybe Howie Roseman deserves an assist here for insisting that they were going to get a premium pick for Zach Ertz, and Buffalo said, no, thanks. We'll just see what Dawson Knox can do. Oh, that's what Dawson Knox can do. We're fine. We don't need to trade for a tight end. You mentioned Beasley. I think the Saline, another chat room favorite, said, yeah, it's with Knox there. They don't need to have Beasley. Someone else mentioned Gabriel Davis in the chat room. That's a good player to stash on your bench in case of injury because he's still good and he's still going to play a big part in this team's future. Maybe just not the present. But again, it's Tennessee's defense. So good luck, Ryan Tannehill and company.
Good luck, Ryan Tannehill, and who in the hell are you going to be working with, right? This was the game where you said, okay, with the Jets and the Jaguars on the schedule, they don't need to play Julio Jones and really A.J. Brown if they don't want to. Well, Brown-Jones' health status will determine the health status of Tennessee's offense. Now, it should be plenty of Derrick Henry. But if Buffalo's up by 21 in the first half, right. I almost said first quarter. First quarter.
Maybe first quarter.
Maybe. How much can you keep using the battering ram that is Derrick Henry? I'm a fan of Eric Dickerson's 2105 Bloom. Mm-hmm. And 17 games is going to put that in danger. And Derrick Henry is the one to put it in danger. So if, they had to go away from Derrick Henry and he has a 40-yard game, maybe I wouldn't be too upset about that if it spares 2105. But I know his numbers aren't historic in the NFL like they are in baseball, but that record's held since 84, baby. And we've had a few guys come close to it. 2,000 yards rushing doesn't happen that often. Henry could do it back-to-back, and he could threaten and break 2105.
He could do it by week 17. Remember, it's an 18-week season. And we'll see how much they're going to use him. I don't even know what the pace is at this point. Maybe Henry could use a little bit of rest in this game and could get some. It's what makes someone like Jeremy McNichols, if you want to go deep for a what the heck flex, because if the second half is a catch-up game plan, then it could be Jeremy McNichols. We could see Julio Jones return, extra day of rest. He'd return to practice this week. A.J. Brown will play. If Tennessee makes an upset bid in this game, it will probably be Julio and Brown, maybe sprinkle in a little Anthony Ferkser. This could be a good week for Ryan Tannehill. It's thinking about those showdown slate DFS. I don't know. I haven't done it yet down here in Louisiana. I know you can pick a player that gets multiplied. Maybe that's Ryan Tannehill in this one in the comeback effort because he's getting the wide receivers back, because Tennessee is a team that we sometimes underestimate. So maybe they're hearing this and seeing how everybody sees them as from a lower class division and not really able to hang with a high class team like Buffalo. That will be the end of our week 6.
That's the end of week 6, but it's not the end of the show because we have the ever popular What the Heck Flex. You're looking over your lineup, you need some of that punch, some of my week 6 What the Heck Flexes, including a young back that we've talked a lot about in AJ Dillon. I throw him as a What the Heck Flex this week. Damian Harris is at What the Heck Flex levels. Jeremy McNichols, we just talked about it, right? It could be that type of catch-up game, and McNichols a good receiving back. He always has been. So he's What the Heck Flex levels there as well. I'll throw in Jet McKinnon, even though I love Darrell Williams. Throw in Jet McKinnon as a What the Heck Flex to the wide receiver position. And I look at AJ Green, hell, Christian Kirk, about the same thing. What the Heck Flex, along with my guy, Khalif Raymond. I throw him in as a What the Heck Flex as well. Van Jefferson is What the Heck Flex to me this week, and so is, as long as he plays, Darius Slayton, because they need some help there at the wide receiver position. We'll see what the quarterback position is like for those Giants. But Bloom, you need some help. Who are some of your week 6 What the Heck Flexes?
Week 6 What the Heck Flexes. All right. Kenny Gainwell, get some screen passes as Philly gets blown out by Tampa Bay. Mentioned Latavius Murray, Tyson Williams. Chargers can't stop the run. Buffalo can't run. What's going to give? J.D. McKissick. He's just a resident in What the Heck Flex. It's Kansas City. Come on. It's the perfect matchup for J.D. McKissick. Don't be surprised if it's an every other week thing. It's an even week, so it could be a J.D. McKissick week. Javonte Williams we talked about, which in some ways is sad, Cease. He was a 5th-round pick in fantasy drafts. He's a What the Heck Flex. But this week, What the Heck Flex? Melvin Gordon, the injury, so on and so forth. Raiders can't stop the run. Jeremy McNichols, we just mentioned. Donovan Peoples-Jones. McCole Hardman, who got some more volume. It's the Washington pass defense. You mentioned Christian Kirk. And again, don't leave Rondale Moore on your bench. Amon-Ra St. Brown with Quintez Cephas on IR. Should get a lot of targets against Cincinnati, who's given up some big games through the air. Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, because Mac Jones is going to get a lot of practice in the second half as Dallas runs out the clock on a win.
And that is a wrap for the Week 6 preview part 2 here on the Audible. Everyone do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we appreciate you for watching here, youtube.com/footballguys. That's us. And our great shows during the week. We've got you covered, whether you love DFS, whether you love Dynasty, mailbag show doing very well. And, of course, the live show coming up tonight, Thursday night, hosted by your favorite, Sigmund Bloom. He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. The show is at The Audible. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thanks to you all. Stay tuned. And as always, stay frosty.